Okay, Scorpio, 2019. This is your back half of the year summer solstice update on your Wheel of the Year reading. I would like to say just before we start that on July 16th we do have a lunar eclipse, and on September 18th we have a solar eclipse happening, and in between these two we have Saturn and Uranus going back direct for you. So this is going to be bringing a whole new structure on how we operate. We've had a lot of big shifts and changes this first half of the year. There's been a ton of stuff going on astrologically. That's what was predicted long ago. But anyway, so we have this big shift that's happening, and we're going to be coming into this new structure and new shedding things that we were intolerant of, and by this point we'll be entering into a phase of things that we're not so focused on what we are intolerant of anymore, and we'll be more focused on things that help us grow. So, and coming into a new patterns of how we handle things. So yeah, let's see who shifted some timelines and what energies you could be facing this back half of the year. Also, I'd like to add, if you don't like how your reading comes out and you don't like the timeline you are facing, you are in control of your own timelines. If you keep seeing tarot readings that say, oh, it's going to be so bad for Scorpio this month or this week or whatever, it's up to you on whether you're going to dwell on that negativity, manifest it, and go ahead and ride that timeline, or if you are going to make changes within yourself in order to change your own timelines. Okay? So, here we go. For summer solstice, Lilith at June, I see trust being broken. Trust being broken, someone was dishonest. This is either you or someone you are with, someone that you are possibly financially bound with that has broken your trust. I see this person as being a deep soul connection. Broken engagements, things of that nature. This is someone, or a really close soul connection with a friend. Someone has been dishonest and this connection has been wounded. And that's the energies that you're facing coming into the summer solstice. By the end of July, I see a period of spiritual and material loss or deprivation of some kind, dealing with the energy of the wound to this connection. But it calls for you for getting through this, and the card that you got for this is a gratitude card. And this card is focusing on things that you are grateful on. So you have this soul connection that is deeply wounded, and it does hurt you, and it's hard not to think about it. But at the same time, I see you handling this by adjusting your focus to all these wonderful connections that you have that do bring you joy and do bring you love and understanding, and those types of connections to help you get through this spiritual wound that you're suffering. By the autumn equinox, by the autumn equinox, I see you coming into gaining balance with your spiritual loss and your material loss. I see that easing up. You got stuff coming in, you've got connections that are good, you've got friends that you help back and forth. This card does call for you to be careful about being too generous with your money or too stingy with your money. Because it's hard to keep that in balance, just as well as to keep your emotions and stuff like that in balance. So don't be so giving that it leaves you in a bad spot, but don't be so shrewd that other people see you as materialistic and self-centered, if that makes sense for you guys. I do see you having a ton of vibrant energy going on here, a lot of manifesting energy, a lot of creating your own power here. At the end of, by the autumn equinox. So by around September, I see you really manifesting up that harvest energy going on. By Samhain, I see you needing to take a break from these connections. We can tend to be so when you have this vibrant energy, it pulls a lot of people to you. And when you go too long with all these people constantly being around and stuff like that, we all need to take a break where we can self-isolate and work on ourselves. This person is, you know, in a defensive stance, surrounded by swords, and it's the kind of energy that it can be dangerous when you do a self-isolation where you will dwell on things that whatever, when you pull away, people will get angry. And you can kind of start to pick yourself apart. So if you do any type of self-isolation, especially if you're a seasonal depression person, be sure that if you're taking these times to self-isolate, that you take these times in order to work on yourself and do things, you know, creative things and things of that nature that bring you joy and things that you feel good about, so that you're not constantly dwelling on any negative aspects. Yeah, I see a bit of struggling with controlling emotion during this point. And it's probably just from the weight of everybody else coming to you and being in your energy and being in your space can cause you to kind of lose balance with your emotions a bit, and you're taking this time in order to rebalance them and recenter yourself. By the winter solstice, this calls for when you come out of this isolation and you're trying to be around people again, that you're not seeking pleasure just for pleasure and no connection, that you're not filling voids with vices, alcohol, drugs, things that make you feel really super good. And it calls for you to watch who you're sharing your energy with, because if you are just seeking pleasure to seek pleasure with people, then you're mixing energy with people that can lower your energy and that can feed into these self-destructive patterns. And it's a pattern that most of us are trying to break. If you're coming to tarot readings, you're coming for guidance to break these toxic cycles that leave you feeling drained all the time. So this is calling for you when you're in the peak of the winter, on the shortest day of the year here. Just be careful that you're not overindulging in who you're spending time with. Especially if you're in a period of isolation, you're just coming out of this isolation. You don't want to go ahead and just mix that energy with people that'll just keep you in that low frequency. And this is calling that if you can't find people that do nothing but fill your voids and feed your demons, that perhaps you need to take some more time to focus on yourself and who you're sharing your energy with. And if you can't find people to share your energy with, go back to trying to focus on shifting your own energy and how you can break the cycle of dealing with people who feed that. All right, so that's your 2019 Pack of the Year, Wheel of the Year reading. And for your Oracle card, I drew vulnerability. And from the Scorpios that I know and that I have the pleasure of knowing, they're the kind of people that have a hard time showing their vulnerability. They don't like to be perceived as vulnerable or perceived as needing people, and that can lead to a lot of the self-isolating and destructive behaviors that can cause you to fall into toxic cycles. So this card isn't calling you not to be vulnerable. This card is calling you to acknowledge your vulnerabilities and to process them and not internalize them and let them be a wound to you. Everybody suffers from vulnerability, and everybody has to face that within themselves and face your own vulnerability. Face where things that you want to change, and embrace them and acknowledge that they were there, and acknowledge the fact that you don't have to respond the way you've always responded to situations. You can be vulnerable and you can express exactly why you feel a certain way. And you can do these things. And also seek people from here. Seek people from here. The ones that you're focusing your gratitude on here in July, don't forget them when you come over here, because I have a feeling that these people are not these people. So be sure that if you want to be vulnerable with someone, you're vulnerable with the people who feed your positive connections and will feed you that unconditional love and that understand you. And don't feed your vulnerabilities to people who will use them against you. Okay? Alright, Scorpio, that's your 2019 Wheel of the Year Summer Solstice update. If you like it, please hit the subscribe and like button. As always, I always appreciate any comments and feedback, and I will talk to you guys later.